Hello everyone, welcome to Cheery. Today, let's join me in watching the greatest battle between the young Straw Hat, Luffy, and the world's mightiest creature, Kaido, in an effort to reclaim Wano country from the clutches of the savage Kaido and Old Man Orochi. The samurai have allied themselves with the three most notorious pirate crews to raid on the Lantern Festival Day. Just as the enemy was lost in revelry, chaos erupted, with the target being the four emperors. Kaido, Luffy, in his own unique way, made every effort to reach the pinnacle of Skull Dome. After numerous trials, Luffy finally reached the 5th floor. Here, the three musketeers have cleared the path, waiting for him. All he needs to do is climb the stairs to reach the rooftop, where the four emperors. Kaido is waiting. Meanwhile, Kit, Killer, and Law have also made their way to the Skull Dome in their own unique ways. Zoro, on the other hand, reached the rooftop via an aerial route. Luffy quickly smashed through the wooden door with a punch, revealing 4 super rookies from the worst generation, and 2 emperors from the past like Kaido and Big Mom. This is considered the greatest battle in history, and its outcome could shake the entire world. Luffy fearlessly strides past the 4 emperors with ease, leaving Kaido extremely surprised as this young man, fearless individual seems to have no concept of life or death. He arrives just in time to save Kinemon, who is gravely injured. Apologizing for being one step late, everyone lies badly wounded and unconscious, and Kinemon sheds tears for his own weakness, and unable to avenge his master, he begs Luffy to save their kingdom of Wano. Seeing this young brat, Luffy, displaying such audacity, Kaido swiftly his weapon launched an attack at him. Luffy quickly shouted to Law to take everyone down below, evading the attack skillfully, and countering with a powerful punch to Kaido's face. To everyone's surprise, Kaido couldn't withstand the force of that blow, leaving Big Mom deeply astonished. Luffy didn't hesitate to voice his goal: to defeat Kaido and become the strongest pirate king. Big Mom mocked him, amused that an unknown kid would dare to declare such ambitions in their presence. Kaido, still a bit dazed from the punch, couldn't fathom why Luffy's attack had hurt so much. Kit, too, was intrigued by the type of haki Luffy had used. Realizing that there might still be hope, Kaido wondered about Luffy's sudden transformation, and there are very few people in the world who possess the same level of power as he does. Could it be that Luffy had reached a masterful level of skill? As a result, Kaido decided to test Luffy's strength with a devastating Thunderbagua attack. The result was that Luffy was sent flying without a chance to react. It was clear that had seen the attack coming, but couldn't dodge Kaido's blow in time. Not stopping there, when Big Mom came charging in to take Luffy's life, Zoro rushed in and intercepted her, slicing through her twin flames with the Fire Slash technique, previously Kinemon's signature move, but now adopted by Zoro as part of his swordsmanship. Seeing Luffy's momentary distraction, Kaido swung his club once more. This time, it was Law who saved Luffy from the devastating attack. Law was infuriated by Luffy's audacity to give him orders, when they were supposed to be equal allies, not master and servant. Kit, sensing the tension, decided to add fuel to the fire, provoking them further. All 3 of them got into a heated argument, right in front of 2 extremely dangerous enemies. Big Mom ordered 3 fireballs to be launched towards them, and all 3 of them decided not to dodge it, when each wanting to prove themselves. So, they braced themselves for the incoming attack. Even Zoro was left baffled by their foolish antics. Kaido wanted to toy with the supernovas, so he asked Big Mom to step back. Seeing this, Zoro and Killer got ready, and unleashed their sharp sword strikes, but their opponents seemed unfazed and even wore smiles. The 3 captains regrouped, and decided to use their most powerful techniques against the 4 emperors. Kaido then challenged them to come at him, and stating that he would take them all on by himself. Luffy quickly landed a punch on him. Kit used his metal contraption to clamp down on Kaido from both sides, and Law shifted stones to crush him. However, Kaido transformed into a flying dragon and ascended into the sky, while Big Mom charged her clouds with electricity. The full-scale battle had now truly begun, and the victor of this battle would ascend to the throne of the Pirate King. Kaido unleashed sharp attacks towards them, severing Kit's metal arms, which were now nothing more than a pile of scrap. On the other hand, Zoro effortlessly deflected the strikes. Luffy rushed forward and landed a powerful punch to the dragon's face. Seizing the opportunity, Kit grabbed Kaido's head and slammed him to the ground. Law wanted to attempt a surgical procedure on the dragon, so he stabbed his sword directly into Kaido's heart. However, even that wasn't enough to bring him down. Killer joined the fight by using his ultrasonic scythe technique, which seemed to have some effect on Kaido. Big Mom didn't allow the super rookies to run rampant, and quickly unleashed a thunderbolt to strike down Killer. When Kaido attempted to attack the young boy, he was hit by Luffy's devastating blow. In return, Kaido unleashed his Boro Breath attack on Luffy. Seeing this, Zoro asked Law to teleport him to the captain's location. Zoro then used his sword to split the flames into two and aimed at Kaido. Big Mom noticed that this sword strike was far from ordinary and advised Kaido to avoid it. As predicted, in an instant, one of the colossal horns on island was severed. Kaido managed to dodge it, but he wondered why Zoro's swordsmanship resembled Odin's so closely. At this moment, Big Mom launched a barrage of thunderbolts, hitting Zoro. Luffy became deeply concerned for his comrade, but he was also unlucky as the attack wreaked havoc, leaving the super rookie pirates in a dire situation. However, Luffy was not heavily affected and launched his own attacks. It would be a long while before Kaido could bring him down. Luffy retaliated with a barrage of cannonball punches. Kaido absorbed the blows from multiple angles, and showing no signs of resistance, finally, Luffy delivered a devastating punch that sent him sprawling to the ground. After a dominating display that left everyone astonished and his Gear 4 state worn out, Luffy needed a 10-minute rest before he could continue. Big Mom, seeing this, swung her sword towards him, but luckily, Zoro was one step ahead and intercepted her. Seeing an opportunity, Law closed in and used his electric attack, causing Big Mom to convulse. At this moment, Kaido summoned a series of whirlwinds, blowing everything around them away. This caused Luffy to slip from Zoro's grasp, and as a result, he was caught by the dragon's bite. So, Zoro rushed in, and delivered a powerful strike that forced Kaido to release Luffy. Kaido created wind-slashing attacks using his dragon body, causing everyone to struggle once again. After some playful skirmishing, Kaido decided to unleash his most powerful form, and the battle became even more intense. Luffy had recovered and wanted to test his strength against Kaido's new form, but he repeatedly faced defeat, and they realized that they couldn't win if they continued to face both four emperors at the same time. So, they devised a plan to separate their opponents. Meanwhile, Luffy wore a confident smile as he relished the opportunity to fight against such a formidable opponent. Kaido and Big Mom, with a mad idea, decided to unleash their ultimate attacks, simultaneously to test the endurance of the super rookie pirates. They unleashed their incredibly powerful attacks, with its immense and virtually unavoidable area of effect. Zoro bravely stepped forward, using his sword as a shield to protect his allies from the devastating attack. However, the immense damage was so great that it blew away a portion of the Devil Island. Zoro lay gasping for breath, bearing the full brunt of the assault, and this allowed the others to be saved from certain doom. Luffy aimed for Kaido to avenge his comrades. This time, Kaido didn't stand still but dodged, and countered with a powerful strike that sent the young pirate flying away. Luffy sustained severe injuries from the opponent's powerful strike and didn't stop there. When Kaido arrived, he added another blow, rendering Luffy unconscious on the spot. Meanwhile, Kit created an iron box, and Law teleported the clouds into it. On the other hand, Killer and Zoro dealt with the twin flames, causing Big Mom to collapse to the ground. Zoro's task was to cut the flames into smaller pieces. While Killer continued pursuing her sword, Kit fired a rain of bullets at Big Mom, but it was ineffective. So, Kit used his magnetic powers to propel Big Mom into the sky, and Law took the opportunity to control a stone platform, sending her flying out of Devil Island. This left her in freefall, unable to rescue herself since her children were all incapacitated. Zoro, despite his exhaustion, continued to buy time. Meanwhile, Luffy had fallen unconscious, and Kaido shifted his focus to the remaining threat, which was Zoro. Seeing Zoro in danger, Law quickly swapped positions with him and thrust his sword into Kaido. However, Kaido managed to repel him. Thanks to Kaido's actions, Big Mom's children managed to escape, and they quickly went to rescue her. Law's primary goal was to separate Big Mom from the battle, so the fate of her falling children was of lesser concern. Kit and Killer decided to collect the leftover debris to track Big Mom's location. On the other hand, Zoro had exhausted his strength, and decided to unleash his final attack, a skill used in an instant, as it streaked a long line up Kaido's body, leaving him startled, as Zoro also possessed Conqueror's Haki. However, Zoro didn't understand what Kaido was saying, and he collapsed to the ground, a tremendous power leaving a scar on the world's mightiest creature. Kaido intended to send Zoro to hell for his impudence. Law boldly rushed forward to intervene but couldn't muster enough strength. The lives of both Law and Zoro hung by a thread. Kaido recognized the strength of these two warriors, but they chose not to follow him in his quest to conquer the world. Leading to this dire situation, suddenly, Luffy regained consciousness and confronted Kaido, declaring that Kaido was not old enough for them to follow him. After enduring numerous powerful attacks, Luffy finally realized that Supreme King Haki could be imbued into attacks as well. Kaido laughed and swung his club, a feat that only a few could achieve. Luffy quickly used his leg to kick Kaido's club without touching it directly. Then he delivered a powerful punch to his opponent. He followed up with another mighty punch to Kaido's face. Both strikes infused with Supreme King Haki, making them incredibly formidable. Luffy instructed Law to lead everyone downstairs, while he handled Kaido himself. Law found this to be a reasonable plan and followed suit, allowing the main character to shine. Both Kaido and Luffy wore satisfied smiles as they faced a worthy adversary. They clashed fiercely, causing the island to tremble with each collision. A relentless and intense battle. Luffy was ultimately defeated, and falling unconscious for the second time, leaving Kaido disappointed that the fight had ended just as he was starting to enjoy it. Afterward, Kaido threw Luffy off Devil Island to prove his victory, despite Luffy learning how to imbue Haki into his attacks, but still couldn't win. Bo Wong immediately announced the battle on the Skull Dome to everyone, informing them that Luffy had officially been defeated, and thrown into the depths of the ocean by Kaido. To avoid a similar fate, the samurai were urged to surrender immediately, as Luffy sank deep into the waters of Wano, causing great concern among the Straw Hat Pirates and the Alliance members, who wondered how they could win without him. At that moment, Momo's head began to hurt intensely, as someone was trying to communicate with him, and that someone was none other than Luffy. Momo quickly relayed the message to the battlefield that Luffy was still alive, and that he would definitely return, so everyone should not despair but continue to fight. This news rejuvenated the spirits of the Alliance members, and they no longer faltered, no longer fearing the world's mightiest creature. Kaido had located Momo and he intended to finish the young boy off. Fortunately, Shinobu used her abilities to rescue both Momo and herself from Devil Island. Meanwhile, a submarine crew detected Luffy and had the sense that he was trying to communicate with them, even though he was still unconscious. On the other hand, Yamato decided to detain Kaido and wait for Luffy to return. The two of them ascended to the Skull Dome, prepared for the ultimate showdown to determine the victor. As for Luffy, he was brought ashore and received medical attention from the crew members. After a considerable effort, Luffy finally regained consciousness, and the first thing he asked for was meat, surprising everyone. It seemed that the earlier battle had drained him of a significant amount of energy, and he needed to refuel. However, even after devouring all the stored provisions, he still felt hungry. Shinobu, with her ninja skills, safely brought Momo to the ground, and they hurried to Luffy's location to assess the situation. Momo was in tears as he learned that Kinemon and Kiku had sacrificed themselves for him. Caribou, who was lurking nearby, couldn't understand why Luffy was here. He worried that if Luffy lost to Kaido, he'd be stuck on the island forever. Luffy pointed straight to Devil Island, and asked Momo to take him back there to end it all. So, Caribou decided to help Luffy by offering some of his stored food. Luffy eagerly devoured the food as if he had hit the jackpot, and paying no attention to his surroundings. Meanwhile, Momo pulled Shinobu aside, and requested that she use her devil fruit power to transform into an adult. This would allow Momo to transform into a larger dragon and carry Luffy back to Devil Island. Despite his now larger body, Momo's mind was still that of a child. But time was running out as Devil Island was set to dock in Wano in just 15 minutes. Finally, Luffy had fully recovered his strength, and Shinobu reluctantly obeyed the young lord's request. With the appearance of a massive pink dragon, the other crew members initially thought that Kaido had arrived, causing them great fear. However, Luffy was the only one who realized that it was Momo, the young boy who had transformed into a large dragon in response to Luffy's request. Momo had become a 28-year-old teenager. However, Shinobu burst into tears, as him resembled the lord too much. Luffy smiled, and they prepared to set out and reclaim Wano. But Momo was still getting used to his new body, and couldn't take off into the sky. Although his body had grown larger, his personality remained timid and fearful, much like that of a child. This frustrated Luffy, who continuously scolded the young boy and urged him to fly to stop Kaido. It took some time, but eventually, Momo managed to take off into the sky. Momo's fear of heights caused his to close his eyes, and crash into the interior of the skull-shaped dome, where the battlefield was in chaos. Everyone was astonished by the appearance of a dragon identical to Kaido. Luffy tried to steer Momo, but it was challenging because the young boy kept flying erratically. After some maneuvering, they finally reached the top of the dome and spotted Kaido. The young boy rushed towards him, and Luffy transformed ready to fight. At the same time, Yamato was preparing to swing her iron club to attack the old man. They both unleashed their attacks simultaneously, causing Kaido to be knocked off his feet and flying far away. Yamato was overjoyed that Luffy had returned, and he appreciates that she was able to hold off opponents in the meantime. Kaido quickly transformed back into his dragon form, and the two facing dragons created a spectacular scene. Kaido was surprised to see that Luffy was still alive, and riding on the back of a peculiar-looking dragon. Momo proudly proclaimed his name and declared that he would become the shogun of Wano. Yamato witnessed the two dragons facing off, was shocked to realize that the pink dragon was Momo. Kaido, not one for many words, launched an attack at Luffy. Fortunately, Momo swiftly evaded the attack, and Luffy leapt onto Kaido, delivering a powerful punch that sent the dragon crashing to the ground. Momo, fueled by Luffy's encouragement, and memories of the suffering Kaido had caused his family, so, he bravely rushed forward to bite Kaido, causing the old dragon to grimace in pain. Luffy followed up with another punch to the green dragon's face. With this support, Momo managed to overcome his fear and faced his opponent boldly. Kaido, still filled with anger, reverted to his human form to engage in hand-to-hand combat with Luffy. The two emitted an enormous amount of Conqueror's Haki, splitting the sky in two, leaving Momo and Yamato in awe of the sight. Luffy quickly instructed Yamato and Momo to descend, provide assistance to their allies below, assuring them that he could handle the situation above. Yamato mounted Momo's dragon form, and they descended towards the battlefield. Kaido, determined to prevent them from leaving, swung his club at them. However, Yamato resisted and fought back. In the meantime, Luffy used his legs to wrap tightly around Kaido, forcing him to turn around. As Momo and Yamato descended, they noticed that Devil Island was trembling, indicating that Kaido was weakening. They knew they had to find a way to lift the island, before it fell onto Wano and caused a catastrophic explosion. Meanwhile, as the battle between Luffy and Kaido raged unevenly matched, swings of the club were met with Luffy's powerful punches. They both found a strange joy in the fight, relishing the combat. However, the course of the battle took a twist. When Kaido brought out a glass of wine and offered Luffy a drink, Luffy declined the offer. Kaido's intention was to immerse himself in the festivities as well, but after taking a few sips, he became incredibly drunk and stumbled around, much to Luffy's irritation. When Kaido tried to use this as an excuse to stop the fight, but he laughed heartily, claiming that alcohol could never make him drunk, Luffy unleashed a furious punch at his opponent, but Kaido effortlessly dodged it, remaining sober enough to retaliate with a powerful slap, causing Luffy intense pain and curse in frustration. Kaido continued to transform into his dragon form, saddened by the destruction of Devil Island. As Luffy rushed toward him, he narrowly avoided being caught by the slicing gusts of wind. Kaido then reverted to his human form and swung his club once more. Luffy swiftly leapt onto it and delivered a powerful kick to Kaido's face, sending him stumbling backward. However, Kaido using his tail to restrain Luffy, and they engaged in a head-to-head struggle to see who was tougher. Luffy was overpowered in this clash, but it sobered Kaido up. Him frustrated by the interruption, he retaliated with a fiery Boro breath. And not stopping there, he swung his club aggressively at his opponent. Luffy, refusing to give in, countered with a series of bare-handed punches. After a fierce battle, Luffy managed to land a solid kick to Kaido's abdomen, causing him to cough up blood. Both sides continued to brawl until one emerged victorious. Unexpectedly, beneath the Skull Dome, all of Kaido's mightiest subordinates had fallen to the ground. Not only that, but Big Mom was also defeated by Kid and Law. The conflict between the leaders of both sides was still unfolding. Kaido, realizing that Big Mom had been defeated, was in a state of extreme panic. He reminisced about the old days, when Big Mom was the first person to strike up a conversation with him, and over the years, they had shared many memories together. Kaido burst into tears, because Big Mom could no longer accompany him in seizing the One Piece treasure. Luffy rushed forward and delivered a devastating punch to Kaido. He transformed himself into his Snake Man form, and continued to unleash a barrage of punches. He swore that he would kick Kaido out of the kingdom permanently. Luffy's punches flew uncontrollably, making it impossible for Kaido to evade them. He was also baffled by the incredible power of rubber that Luffy possessed. Despite suffering significant damage, Kaido remained unimpaired by the alcohol, and continued to taunt Luffy, further fueling his anger. Kaido claimed that Luffy wasn't the only one capable of using Haki to see into the future. As he could also do so, he transformed into a dragon, taking flight into the sky. He then lunged at Luffy, attempting to bite him and savor the taste of flesh, with the intention of swallowing him whole. However, Luffy resisted vehemently, and demanding to break free, Kaido reluctantly complied and unleashed a direct attack, hitting Luffy with the devastating Boro breath, sending him flying through Devil Island. This attack was incredibly powerful. Luffy quickly recovered and caught his breath. Despite the injuries he had sustained, he generated propulsion to return to face Kaido once more, and unsure of how much time remained. Kaido attempted to devour him again. But this time, things were different. Luffy evaded the attack, and ascended even higher, enlarging his arms significantly, and he argued with his opponent about the resilience of the people of Wano, proving that they were not as weak as Kaido had thought. Kaido attempted to counter with another, Boro Breath, but Luffy was quicker and landed a supercharged punch, leaving Kaido in excruciating pain, and lay motionless on the ground. Luffy, not wanting to waste any time, rushed forward again. However, as he reached his opponent, he was met with a tremendously powerful and forceful attack from Kaido. Luffy, in pain, fell to the ground as the air in his mouth escaped. He struggled to keep his form, and the two clashed once more. Suddenly, a member of the CPO appeared out of nowhere, interrupting the battle. He used a technique to immobilize Luffy, catching both of them off guard. Make Kaido recall that in the past, there was also someone who dared to challenge his battles. Luffy took a hit from Kaido's extremely powerful attack. Kaido felt discouraged when he saw that his opponent was too weak. As the Iron Club became embedded in him, Luffy lost consciousness, and all the air within him gradually escaped. He floated in the air like a deflated balloon. Kaido gazed sadly at fallen opponent and deeply regretful. Below them, Momo could no longer hear Luffy's voice, and was in a state of panic. Kaido sighed heavily as he felt his strength waning. Meanwhile, Luffy had reverted to his normal form and lay unconscious. The outcome of the battle was announced. Kaido officially declared the victor. He turned to interrogate the CPO member who had disrupted the fight, but the individual remained silent. Kaido, infuriated by the interference with his enjoyment, had no choice but to eliminate the intruder. His attack resonated once more, causing Devil Island to tremble. Suddenly, Kaido plummeted from the Skull Dome down to the fierce battlefield below. He declared that Luffy was dead, and demanded immediate surrender from the opposing side. This news caught everyone off guard, and Kid and Law also couldn't sense Luffy anymore, leading them to believe that this time, things had taken a turn for the worse. Meanwhile, Chopper was in tears, devastated by the loss of their captain. Nami didn't believe Kaido's words in the slightest, and continued to berate him as a liar. Kaido, frustrated by her accusations, opened his mouth and unleashed the Boro Breath in her direction. Fortunately, Marco rushed forward to intercept the entire attack, and advised everyone not to give up. As the battle was far from over, Kaido issued threats to the samurai, warning them that life would become even more terrifying than hell if they didn't surrender. Kaido's soldiers, emboldened by his words, surged forward to attack and gain favor with him. However, the Straw Hat crew members rushed to support their fallen captain. Neko and Carrot, sensing the dire situation inside, also joined the fray. Law and Kit were forced to stand up and fight once again, all the while still holding Luffy accountable for this situation. On the other hand, as Momo believed that Luffy had sacrificed himself, he saw no remaining chance to defeat Kaido, and considered surrendering. This infuriated Yamato, who couldn't stand the young boy's defeatist attitude. She wondered if Kaido would spare them if they surrendered. The samurai had waited for 20 years for a reason, and now everyone was near their limits. Kaido was no different. They'd rather fight with all their might and risk their lives than live as slaves forever. Hearing these words, Momo realized what he needed to do. Kaido continued to spew flames, attacking the samurai relentlessly, and it felt as though they were in the depths of hell. Back with Luffy, his heartbeats grew stronger and sounded like drums. The colossal elephant could hear these beats, and felt a deep sense of nostalgia after more than 800 years. Finally, the one they had been waiting for had returned. It told Momo that Joy Boy had truly appeared. At that moment, Luffy's body started to emit a mysterious, smoky aura, and his heartbeats synchronized with the unconscious release of Conqueror's Haki. The colossal elephant also heard the drums of freedom after more than 800 years, and was certain that Joy Boy was present. Luffy himself was bewildered by what was happening. He wondered why he was still alive, and this indescribable feeling filled him with immense excitement. Meanwhile, Momo told Yamato that Luffy was Joy Boy, and Sanji along with other prominent characters sensed Luffy's return. Marco informed Nami and Otama that Luffy was still alive, bringing them great joy. Back at the powerful Marihoa castle, the five elders discussed the situation in Wano. They questioned whether provoking Kaido, and sacrificing an exceptional agent was the right course of action. They noted the awakening of a tremendous power, and the world government's repeated failures in acquiring rubber fruits for over 800 years, as if the fruit itself had a mind of its own, and evaded them intentionally. Indeed, the rubber fruit had its own will and was, in essence, the mythical Hito Hito Nika. The user's body possessed rubber properties, and in combat its power was limited only by imagination. This user was the embodiment of a warrior of freedom, awakening to a form with a body magnified 1,000-fold, fighting freely and wielding the most illogical power in the world. Finally, Luffy awakened amidst the resounding drumbeats. Reaching the pinnacle of his strength with Gear 5th, Luffy unleashed his Conqueror's Haki power below, incapacitating a multitude of small fry soldiers. Kaido was left baffled by the unfolding events, when a colossal hand grabbed his body, and pulled him back to the Skull Dome's summit. Luffy held Kaido, spinning him around like a toy, repeatedly tossing him up and down. Kaido was overjoyed that Luffy was still alive. Then Kaido fired a Boro breath at opponent. Luffy, in a panic, manipulated the ground beneath him into a rubber shield, rebounding the Boro breath attack. This marked the manifestation of Luffy's Gear 5. The battle had truly begun, with Luffy now playing and frolicking with the rubber ground while laughing. Kaido noticed that the Gomu fruit had an impact on the surrounding environment, leading him to confirm one thing: Luffy had awakened the powers of a Paramythia-type devil fruit. However, there was something peculiar about Luffy transformation, resembling the abilities of beast pirates. Kaido rushed to inquire about what was happening with the Gomu fruit, realizing that his opponent had come close without his knowledge, leaving Luffy surprised. Despite this, he couldn't avoid the dragon's attack, and found himself inside Kaido's dark and suffocating mouth. Luffy exerted all his strength to lift Kaido's mouth, and transformed into a muscular form, attempting to escape. Ultimately, he was forced to be swallowed by Kaido. Inside the dragon's stomach, Luffy used it as a makeshift slide for amusement, before repeatedly striking Kaido's stomach, causing him great pain. Not stopping there, Luffy inflated his body into a gigantic balloon. This made Kaido look extremely bizarre, as he lost control of his body and bounced up and down like a flying ball. Kaido became quite annoyed and asked Luffy to fight seriously. Meanwhile, Yamato and Momo, curious about the commotion at the dome's summit, decided to fly up and see what was happening. They found Kaido floating in the air with a mutated bloated belly. They couldn't comprehend what was happening, and Yamato casually suggested that it might be a new form of transformation. Kaido couldn't understand why his body had also turned into rubber. Inside Kaido's stomach, Luffy was still having a great time and noticed two bright spots, which were Kaido's eyes. He extended his arms to grasp them, causing Kaido's dragon eyes to pop out. Luffy used Kaido's nose as a focal point, and launched himself like a rocket, releasing the gas from Kaido's stomach, and propelling himself into the sky like an inflated balloon. Yamato and Momo were greatly surprised to see Luffy hiding in the clouds, and then suddenly appearing with a gigantic body, attempting to kick Kaido in the face. However, Kaido quickly closed in on Luffy and bit down on the little guy, causing him considerable pain. Yamato asked Momo who was fighting Kaido, leaving the young boy unsure of how to respond, since this person sounded exactly like Luffy. Nonetheless, Kaido continued his relentless biting. Luffy countered with a headbutt aimed at Kaido's critical point. Then he grabbed the head and tail of the dragon, and turned it into a rubber jump rope. This enraged Kaido. As Luffy turned himself into a clownish spectacle, Kaido released a direct attack, which Luffy embraced and was blown away from the island. His body was charred from the attack, but Luffy quickly dusted off the dirt, and accelerated back towards Devil Island at an incredible speed. Kaido's tail swipes caused chunks of land to fall below. Kit recognized that Luffy was still alive, but so was Kaido, and the situation was getting worse day by day. The fire needed to be extinguished, but they were in midair with no water to put it out. Nami encouraged Otama, assuring her that Luffy would surely win, and indeed, Luffy had returned to Devil Island. However, Kaido had been waiting, and unleashed a devastating attack, causing Luffy's head to swell, and slam down onto the battlefield below. Everyone was shocked by this dramatic appearance. Marco couldn't understand why Luffy looked like that, making Nami doubt whether this was the Luffy she knew, and why he had grown so large. Luffy tried to pull his head out of the hole, but he used too much force and was shot quite far away. Kaido felt like he was in a comic book, as the little guy ran and jumped around without engaging in a proper fight. Luffy seemed to have run out of strength to fight as Gear 5 had reached its limit, causing his hair and body to return to their original forms. This transformation had drained all of Luffy's energy, leaving he as a feeble old man, and Kaido was also exhausted, collapsing on the. Luffy slumped to the ground, and admitted that he couldn't handle it anymore, as his current form had eroded his energy. Kaido agreed to fulfill the little guy's wish, and promised that this battle would be remembered for thousands of years. However, Luffy refused to give up and struggled to get up. Yamato finally recognized Luffy, but his voice was fading away. Luffy and Kaido stood up, and this would be their final battle. Luffy called out the names of those who had suffered so much in this fight, using their pain as his motivation to activate his form once again. A smile appearing on the face of the rubber warrior, Kaido laughed, confident that Luffy would die if he expended all his remaining energy. However, when dealing with someone unafraid of death, everything only pushed past its limits, as the heartbeat and drumbeats of liberation rang out. Luffy quickly built up speed to run. Kaido lunged behind him, swinging his club at the little guy. Distorting his head, Luffy tried to escape range of attack, but Kaido quickly chased after him and delivered another blow. Luffy managed to catch the club and hurl it away. Then, he used his incredible speed to confuse Kaido. Kaido admitted that he had never seen such a strange power before. Kaido continued to swing his club at opponent. Luffy used the ground as a shield to deflect the damage. Luffy then spun like a propeller and delivered a powerful punch, sending Kaido flying far away. Kaido lay motionless after taking that punch, and Luffy continued to play around with his various techniques. Unsure of what to name them, Kaido couldn't believe he was facing such a stubborn opponent today. As he kept punching but opponent just wouldn't die, Luffy challenged Kaido, declaring that he would become the Pirate King, and setting the stage for their final battle. Kaido charged in for a relentless series of strikes, and Luffy refused to back down, countering with his own blows. Each punch caused Kaido to cry out in pain. As they battled fiercely, a fire began to blaze from below, and Kaido tried to advise Luffy to give up. However, Luffy was undeterred. Always trusting in his comrades, he quickly closed the distance to fight Kaido, but before he could strike, Kaido launched an attack that forced Luffy to dodge immediately. Meanwhile, Yamato continued to urge Momo to use his powers to lift the Devil Island. As the elderly Kaido was running out of strength, and the island was beginning to fall, Luffy continued to playfully taunt and challenge Kaido. He surprised Kaido by showing that he could control lightning in his hands. Kaido was baffled by Luffy's ability to control lightning and couldn't believe it. Luffy unleashed a lightning attack at Kaido, but the thunder strikes alone couldn't stop him. However, Luffy followed up with a powerful punch that shook the heavens and the earth. Kaido, furious and determined, retaliated by swinging his club at Luffy, sending him flying. However, Luffy had transformed into an even more formidable opponent, with his rubbery body absorbing and deflecting Kaido's attacks effortlessly. He gathered the lightning from the sky and launched it at Kaido, causing the old pirate to scramble in surprise as Luffy continued to outmaneuver him. Kaido, though frustrated, declared that the battle would soon come to an end, as the power of a devil fruit user couldn't conquer the world. He unleashed a series of incredibly powerful attacks on Luffy, fueled by his rage, and culminated in his most devastating strike, which caused destruction all around. Despite the overwhelming onslaught, Luffy still held on, grabbing Kaido and forcing him to transform into his dragon form, and unleash his ultimate attack, causing Luffy to endure the full force of the blazing attack. Kaido couldn't understand why his opponent kept hiding in the clouds instead of engaging in a direct battle. From the sky, a gigantic fist descended upon Kaido, leaving him screaming. Realizing he had encountered an incredibly stubborn adversary, Luffy, floating on the clouds, told Momo to move the island aside, as he was going to end the battle with Kaido using his gigantic Haki-infused fist. But young Momo believed he couldn't do it, and the power of his family gave him an additional 100% boost. However, Kaido would retaliate against Luffy's direct attack with a fiery breath attack, then envelop it in his dragon's body, and vowed to make Luffy's hand burn like the island's horn. And Luffy wouldn't let that happen and focused his strength into his punch, utilizing what he had learned, unleashing an attack without making contact. The collision between the two created a massive shockwave, causing the island to tremble. Kawamatsu recalled the painful past when they couldn't save Lord Odin, and they had to flee. After that execution, Kaido and Orochi hunted down member of the Kazuki clan, and they all perished at their hands. Anyone who resisted was killed by Kaido, while Orochi captured the samurai, forcing them into labor to build weapon factories. The waste from the factories polluted the rivers, making the water undrinkable. The fertile land was severely damaged, and the people suffered from hunger and thirst, living in misery. Furthermore, Orochi also distributed faulty devil fruits to the citizens, making them laugh endlessly in their dire circumstances. Meanwhile, Kaido and Luffy had yet to determine a clear winner. Luffy's colossal hand couldn't avoid brushing against Kaido's dragon scales, causing him severe injuries. Old man Kaido believed that Luffy wouldn't be able to change the world, and memories from their childhood began to resurface. At the tender age of 10, Kaido was already the strongest warrior in the Vodka Kingdom. There were unpleasant memories as well, as the king forced him into military service. Kaido mentioned that he was afraid of being bullied in the military, so he decided to run away, and became a wanted criminal with a bounty of $70 million. At the age of 15, on a pirate island, Kaido was personally invited into Whitebeard's crew by the captain. However, after the battle in the valley, the pirate crew disbanded, and Kaido left for Wano Island, where he allied with the malevolent Orochi to torment the land, and turn it into a true hell. Returning to the present, when Yamato discovered that Kaido's flame clouds had disappeared, Devil Island began to plummet. Fortunately, Momo had used all his strength to create clouds. Kaido and Luffy are both pouring all their power into their final attacks, and Kaido asked Luffy what kind of world he wanted to create, and without hesitation, Luffy described his world, where he would create a joyful and free life alongside his comrades. Then Luffy pierced Kaido's flame armor, and punched him without holding back. This attack caused Kaido to fall straight down to Wano country. He remembered his past conversation with King, where only Joy Boy could defeat him, and it had become a reality as Luffy emerged victorious in the battle. Kaido gradually lost consciousness and reverted to his human form. Luffy, his energy depleted, delivered a final blow, sending Kaido plummeting into the volcano much like Big Mom, turning Luffy back into a normal human. Yamato quickly rushed to embrace him, and Luffy had successfully defeated the world's strongest creature. Thank you all for your interest and support, and we look forward to seeing you in the next videos.